There comes a point in life when the noise around us starts to feel heavier than it used to. The world moves faster, the demands grow louder, and even the smallest tasks begin to pull at our energy. Many people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, people who've lived enough life to know what truly matters, start longing for something far simpler. Not another achievement to chase, not another possession to take care of, just a quieter mind, a gentler rhythm, a little peace they can actually feel. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one morning, watching the steam rise from my coffee. Nothing special was happening, yet I felt a kind of stillness I hadn't felt in years. It reminded me that calm doesn't show up in grand moments. It shows up in the small pauses we allow ourselves. That's what today's journey on Simple Earth Studio is about, rediscovering those small, meaningful pauses. We'll talk about mindful living, not as a trend, but as a way to breathe again. How slowing down, simplifying your days, and paying attention to the present can bring back a clarity you might have forgotten you once had. If you're ready for a calmer, more meaningful life, take a deep breath. Let's begin.
As the years pass, something subtle begins to change inside us. Our bodies may keep up, our routines may look the same, but our minds, they start craving something different. Not more excitement, not more noise, not more things to chase. They start longing for rest, for space, for that soft kind of stillness we used to overlook when we were younger. Yet the world pulls us in the opposite direction. Every morning, before we even open the blinds, the news is already shouting. Our phones light up with messages, reminders, and alerts. Responsibilities tug at us from every direction: family, work, bills, expectations. And slowly, without even noticing it happen, our minds become places that never rest. Thoughts run like a river after a storm, fast and cloudy. We start planning before we finish today. We worry before anything even goes wrong. And with a mind that busy, even the smallest tasks begin to feel heavier than they used to. Washing the dishes feels like climbing a hill. Sorting the mail becomes a chore that drains us more than it should. Moments that used to be peaceful, a quiet morning, a warm cup of tea, a walk around the block, feel harder to enjoy because our minds never sit still long enough for us to feel anything. It's like our minds are living 3 steps ahead while our bodies are still trying to stand right here. But here's the truth most of us forget. We don't need more noise, more stimulation, or more things to manage. We need room to breathe. We need to clear out the mental clutter, just as we'd clean out a crowded closet. We need space. Soft, unhurried space where our thoughts can settle instead of collide. I remember a moment not too long ago. It was early evening, that quiet hour when the sun dips low and the day exhales. I was sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by reminders of things I hadn't done yet. Unopened mail, a grocery list, a few unfinished chores. My mind was racing through all of it at once, and I could feel the familiar tightness in my chest, the subtle pressure of being pulled in too many directions. Then, without thinking too hard about it, I pushed everything aside. I reached for my mug, still warm, and wrapped my hands around it. I didn't plan, I didn't analyze, I didn't try to be productive. I just sat, breathing, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, watching the light fade across the floor. And in that small, quiet pause, I felt something loosen, something soften. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't life-changing, but it was real. I felt my mind settle, like dust after the wind has passed. I felt a kind of peace I hadn't realized I'd been missing.
Moments like that don't happen because life suddenly becomes easier. They happen because we create a little space for them, because we choose, even for just a minute, to stop running, to stop thinking 5 steps ahead, to stop carrying everything at once. As we get older, what we truly desire isn't more activity, it's more presence, more clarity, more gentle moments where our minds can finally rest inside the quiet. So today, give yourself that space. Put the phone down. Let the to-do list wait. Sit by the window. Step outside. Breathe deeply. Make just a little room for stillness. Because peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from allowing yourself, at long last, to simply be.
There was a time when my mind felt like a crowded room. Voices of worry, unfinished tasks, memories I hadn't processed, plans I hadn't made yet. Even on the quietest days, something inside me kept racing. I thought a quiet mind meant an empty one, a mind without thoughts, without questions, without noise. But I've learned something different with age. A quiet mind isn't empty. It's clear. It knows what matters and gently lets go of what doesn't. I remember one early morning, long before the sun came up. I couldn't sleep, so I slipped outside with a cup of coffee. The world was still half asleep. The air felt cool and new. I sat there listening to the birds waking up, feeling the warm mug in my hands. For the first time in a long while, my thoughts settled. Not because I forced them to, but because in that moment, nothing asked for my attention. And I realized how long it had been since I'd simply noticed the world around me. A simple life isn't a smaller life. It's a more intentional one. Less clutter in your home, yes, but also less clutter in your heart. Less stress because you're no longer trying to be everywhere at once. Less rushing because you finally understand that most things can wait. And in return, you get more space to breathe, more clarity, more moments that actually feel like living, not just passing through you like a blur. Mindful living isn't about meditating for an hour or following some perfect routine. It's about tuning in instead of tuning out. It's about noticing the warmth of your morning coffee before the day demands anything from you. It's hearing the birds when the world is still quiet and realizing nature has been singing to you every morning. You were just too busy to listen. It's the deep exhale you take when you finally sit still, the moment your shoulders drop without you telling them to. It's feeling your breath slow down and understanding that this gentle pause is part of life too. These small things are the big things, the things we remember, the things that make us feel alive. As we grow older, we realize that life isn't measured in achievements or busyness. It's measured in the quiet moments that touch us, the ones that don't try to impress anyone, the moments when we feel connected to ourselves, to the world, to something deeper we can't quite name. A clear mind gives you room to feel joy again. A simple life gives you room to come home to yourself. And maybe that's the gift of this season of life, the courage to let go of what no longer serves us and the wisdom to hold close what truly does. So if you're tired, if you're overwhelmed, if you're longing for a life that feels softer, more meaningful, more yours, start small. Start with one quiet moment, one deep breath, one choice to slow down. Because peace isn't found somewhere far away. It grows in moments just like this, simple, ordinary, and beautifully real.
There's a moment in life, usually somewhere after 40, somewhere after enough years of rushing and trying and juggling,
when you suddenly realize how tired your soul feels. Not just your body, not just your mind, but something deeper. And it doesn't come from one big event. It comes from thousands of small moments when you kept moving, even when what you really needed was to pause. I remember a morning not long ago. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet you don't notice unless you slow down long enough to hear it. I poured myself a cup of tea, the steam curling into the cool air. Normally, I'd drink it while scanning emails or mentally building my to-do list. But that day, for reasons I can't quite explain, I just stopped. I sat at the table, wrapped my hands around the warm cup, and let myself be there fully. I took one slow sip, then another. And suddenly my whole nervous system softened, like it had been waiting years for me to remember what calm feels like. That's where this idea begins. One slow moment a day. Not an hour, not a whole morning, not a weekend getaway. Just one moment, morning, afternoon, or evening, where you move gently through the world. Drink tea slowly, walk slowly, breathe slowly. Let your mind relearn the texture of peace. Because calm isn't something you find accidentally, it's something you practice, like turning your face toward the sun. Later that same week, I tried something else, something even smaller. I turned off one notification on my phone. Just one. The constant little buzz that never really mattered but always stole a tiny piece of my attention. The moment I silenced it, the house felt bigger, quieter, almost like it had room to breathe again. That's the second step. Reduce one noise source. We live in a world filled with noise, digital noise, mental noise, emotional noise. And we've grown so used to it that silence almost feels strange. But the moment you turn off one screen a little earlier, or let one alert stay unread, or simply allow silence to be silence, your brain finally gets the chance to settle. One small reduction can feel like a deep exhale you didn't even know you were holding. Then comes the third step, the one that surprised me most. Not meditation, not a routine, not something you have to be good at. Just stillness for 2 minutes. Sit, breathe, listen. Allow your shoulders to drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your mind wander without chasing it. 2 minutes is short enough that you can't say you don't have time, but long enough to bring your nervous system back into balance. And if you're like many of us, living in a body that's been stuck in go mode for years, those 2 minutes can feel like coming home after a long, long journey. When you combine these 3 tiny practices, one slow moment, one less noise, 2 minutes of stillness, something begins to shift. You don't become a different person overnight. You don't wake up in a mountain cabin with perfect peace. Life stays life, with its responsibilities and routines. But you begin to move differently through it. You start noticing the warm sunlight on your floor. You start tasting your coffee again. You start hearing your own thoughts without feeling overwhelmed by them. You start realizing that peace doesn't demand a new lifestyle, just new habits of awareness. And here's the beautiful truth. Small steps create big peace. In a world that moves faster than ever, slowing down even a little is an act of courage. Choosing presence is an act of self-respect. Giving yourself silence, even for 2 minutes, is an act of love. These aren't grand gestures. They're tiny windows where your mind and heart finally get to rest. And the more you choose them, the more they choose you back.
quiet becomes easier. Calm becomes familiar. Stillness becomes something you don't fear, but something you welcome, like an old friend arriving at your door. So today, just choose one small step, one slow sip, one quiet moment, one breath that fills your whole body. Because peace isn't something waiting on the other side of a busy life. It's something you create gently, intentionally, right here in the smallest spaces of your day.
There's a moment many of us reach somewhere after 40, a moment when the noise of life grows so loud, so constant, that we suddenly realize we haven't truly heard ourselves in years. We wake up tired, move through the day on autopilot, and fall into bed wondering where the time went and why everything feels so heavy. I know that feeling well. There was a time when my mind never stopped, always jumping to the next task, the next worry, the next expectation I'd placed on myself. I wasn't living. I was running through life, hoping that someday I'd catch up with my own happiness. Then, one evening, everything shifted. Not dramatically, not with some big revelation, but softly, quietly. I was sitting outside on the back steps after a long day. The yard was still. The sky had just begun to settle into that deep blue that only appears right before night fully arrives. I wasn't doing anything special. I wasn't trying to fix anything or plan anything. I was just breathing. And in that rare moment of stillness, my mind finally slowed down enough for me to notice something. Life felt clearer when I stopped filling it with noise. When your mind becomes quieter, everything else begins to soften. You start sleeping better, not because your life is perfect, but because your thoughts aren't racing you into exhaustion. Conversations with the people you love become richer. You actually hear them, not just respond. Stress loosens its grip, and you begin to feel like you're participating in your own life again, instead of being pushed through it. That small moment on the back steps became the beginning of something new for me. I started practicing what many now call mindful living, though back then it didn't feel like a practice. It felt like remembering something I'd forgotten. I began paying attention to simple things, like how the morning light moved across the kitchen counter, how warm my coffee felt in my hands, how the breeze carried the scent of pine during my walks. These weren't grand moments. They were ordinary, everyday fragments of life I had rushed past for years. And as my attention shifted, so did everything else. The more present I became, the more peaceful I felt. I learned that mindful living isn't about sitting cross-legged on a cushion or trying to erase every thought from your mind. It's about showing up for your own life, fully, gently, honestly. It's about pausing long enough to notice what's good, what's true, what's already here. Many adults over 40 say they've been missing presence, peace, and purpose, not because their lives are empty, but because they're full, so full that the moments that matter get buried. But mindful living helps us uncover those moments again. It reminds us that purpose isn't something waiting in the next big achievement. Peace isn't hiding in a quieter world. Presence isn't something we must earn. They are all available right now, in the breath you're taking, in the quiet between thoughts, in the space where life actually happens. And the beautiful part is this: you don't need to change everything to feel different. You only need to slow down enough to notice. Because when your mind becomes quieter, life doesn't just become calmer. It becomes clearer. It becomes lighter. It becomes yours again. I used to believe a quiet mind was something other people had. Monks, poets, anyone whose life looked slower and softer than mine. But over the years, I've learned that a calm mind isn't a gift you stumble into. It's something you build gently, step by step, choice by choice. Sometimes it starts with something as small as clearing a corner of your home, taking a deeper breath, or allowing yourself 5 minutes with no noise at all. And little by little, something shifts. The world doesn't feel quite as heavy. Your thoughts don't pull you in 1,000 directions. You start to feel lighter. If today's message brought you even a moment of peace, a breath of clarity, or a spark of hope, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to Simple Earth Studio. Each week we share slow living stories, mindful practices, and simple tools to help you ease stress, soften your days, and reconnect with what truly matters. None of us have to walk this path alone. So let's take it together, gently, steadily, one quiet step at a time. A quiet mind, a simple life, a better, more intentional way of living.